Hi there, my name is Oliver. Tonight I will be reading chapters 16, 17, and 18 of The Sleeping Dragon, first part of the trilogy Guardians of the Flame, The Warriors. In this installment, we rejoin our party as they have just plunged into the gate between worlds, and with them we will find out what lies on the other side. Let's get started. Part 5, and Beyond. Chapter 16, The Way Back. It is easy to go down into hell. Night and day, the gates of dark death stand wide. But to climb back up again, to retrace one's steps to the upper air, there's the rub, the task. Publius Virgilius Maro, Virgil. Walter Slavatsky's huge hand shook him, while the damp night grass pressed against his shirt and bare feet. "Karl, we're back." The big man wept almost silently. "We're back." Bare feet? That made sense. They had left their sandals behind. But why did his back hurt so? As if he'd been sunburned, or worse. "Easy now." Her hand at the back of his neck, Andy propped him up into a sitting position. Karl opened his eyes. Moonlight off the water in front of him hitting him like a slap. Moonlight? "We did it." Lou Ricchetti knelt in front of him, barefoot in now tattered work shirt and jeans. "Not quite." His voice was somber. His round cheeks were wet. "We don't even have Jason's body with us, and what, damn it?" Karl peeled back the right leg of his jeans. No wonder it ached so. It was covered with blisters. "Look over there." Ricchetti pointed. Doria lay curled on the grass, her eyes wide and unblinking, her chest barely moving. "She's gone, Karl. Catatonic." Karl shook himself. And it was himself. Smaller, skinnier. "Barack? Help me?" Nothing. No answer. Not even the feeling of the presence of his other persona. "Then I'll do without." "Where's James?" "Later," Andy breathed. "Just take a moment. You need—" "Show him." Ricchetti's voice was firm. She caught a breath and held it for longer than Karl would have thought possible. "Look to your right." Walter Slavatsky knelt, weeping over the dead body of James Michael Finnegan. The third-degree burns that had killed James Michael still smoldered, sending up light traces of mist and smoke. Oh, God. He didn't change enough. Walter wept unashamedly, his huge hands reaching out as though to shake little James Michael Finnegan awake, then drawing back. "Just think for a minute." Mirror Lake spread out in front of him in the moonlight, the commons all around. "We're on campus." A chill wind blew across the lake, sending a rush of leaves tumbling around him. "How long?" Ricchetti shook his head. "Dayton didn't lie about the different time rates. I snuck into a dorm. We've been gone just about 8 hours. It's 4 in the morning. Jace is gone. James Michael is dead. Doria is—" Karl backhanded him across the face. "Shut up!" Shaking off Andy's helping hands, he got to his feet, ignoring the shooting pains from the blisters on his soles. "We've got to get moving." "And do what?" Andy shrilled. "Shut up, I said." He hobbled over to where Walter knelt weeping over the burned body that had been James Michael Finnegan. "And you, stand up and clear your head, now. We don't have time for this shit." Walter bared his teeth and growled. "You leave me alone, you—" "No time for that. Where do you keep your car?" "Car?" "Yes, car. Automobile. Where do you keep it parked?" The big man's forehead crinkled. "Over in B-lot. What do you—" "Not close enough. Lou?" Ricchetti trotted over, a faint smile peeking through the grimness of his wet face. "Yes? Are you thinking what I think?" "You've got it. S-lot's closest. Get there, find a big car, and steal it. Spare key under the front fender, cross some wires, do whatever you have to, but get a big car and get it here. Fast." "Got it." Ricchetti nodded and ran off. "Karl?" Walter looked up at him. "What's going on?" Lou worked it out. You should have listened more closely to Ahira. The matriarch of the Healing Hand may be able to raise the dead. Now, we don't have Jason's body, but we do have James Michaels, and we have Doria. He took a deep breath. So we're going back. You know where that bastard Dayton lives? Faculty Row, third house from the... Fine. Run up there. Act like you're out for a jog or something, and cut the phone lines. Don't go in, but if he notices you and tries to get out, stop him. Slovatsky stood. Are you sure we should handle it this way? Karl grabbed him by the front of the shirt. Ahira's out of it, and I'm in charge. Understood? Slovatsky smiled and nodded. You really think we'll be able to get away with all this? No, but we're going to try. Get moving. Karl released his grip. Slovatsky turned and jogged away, not looking back. Karl? His feet aching hideously, he turned to face Andy. What have you got for me? Diversion. He jerked his thumb toward the road. If anybody comes this way, you distract them, particularly if it's security. If we get stuck on this side, James will get buried, Doria gets committed to some nice funny farm, and that's it. So make it good. She nodded. But if it's security and I get busted? Then you stay here, so make sure you don't. If we lose you, meet us up at Faculty Row, third house from the west end. He forced a grin. It'll be the one with the big stolen car in front of it. Now get up to the road and keep watch. She nodded and started to walk away, then turned back to face him. But what if Dayton won't send us back, or can't? Karl crossed his arms over his chest. He will. Believe me, he will. They huddled in the bushes next to Dayton's back porch. A light shone through the drawn curtains, casting their faces into yellow shadow. Last chance, Karl said quietly. We've all got family and friends on this side. Our lives are here. I promise I'll do my best to bring anybody back who wants to come back. He shrugged. Walter smiled, not amiably. But there's no guarantee we can slip by the dragon again. The big man shrugged, not noticing how that split the shoulders of his shirt. I'll take the chance. For James. Richetti rubbed at his face. I've got no problem. I've always wanted out, wanted to make some miracles. He spread his hands. And what am I here? A 9th semester engineering major with maybe enough money for another semester? Haven't spoken to my parents and... He shook himself. I just want to know how we're going to do it. In a minute. Andy? She laid a hand on his arm. We'll talk about it later. Right now, I'm more worried about Doria and Ahira. You said that they can help them on the other side? I don't have time for explanations. No, that wasn't true. It wasn't a matter of time, but of nerve. If we don't do this quickly, I don't know if I can do it at all. Somewhere in the waste is the home tabernacle of the Healing Hand Society, Doria's sect. She nodded. And she's one of their own, so they're likely to help her. Probably. She paused for a moment, fingering the bend in her nose. But only probably. What if their records don't show her? I mean, on this side, there's institutions. Maybe Doria would be best here? No. Karl forced a smile. I'm an ex-psych major, remember? The prognosis for catatonia is bad. Insulin therapy, shock treatments, none of it has decent odds. That's one. 2, if she could be brought out of it here, what do you think her chances are of ever getting out of the rubber room set? Even a good shrink will diagnose her as having heavy delusions, and the rest of us won't be around to back her up, not if we're going to try and get James brought back. I can't see a chance that she could persuade anyone that what happened, well, happened. As far as I can see it, we're her only chance. He turned to Richetti. You crack a window in the car? As per instructions. The bag is still in the trunk. Doria is safely under a blanket in the back seat, and after I dropped you two off, I parked it well away from a streetlight. Fine, Karl said. Go back to it, start it up, and pull it into the driveway when you see the light on the front porch blink 3 times. If that doesn't happen within, say, 15 minutes, get going. Take care of them, and make another try when you think it's right. Got it? Got it. Richetti walked away, stooping low as he passed under Dayton's kitchen window. Walter straightened himself. What have you got for me? Free safety. If the bastard gets past Andy and me, stop him. Don't kill him, don't give him a concussion, but stop him. On the 3 blinks, you come in too. And if we blow it, you get back to your dorm and play football hero until you hear from Richetti. Andy and I will keep our mouths shut. You weren't at the student union tonight. You didn't know anybody was missing or dead. Understood? Understood. We could just ask Dayton, you know. Walter held up a hand. I know. But if he tells us to go to hell and starts screaming for the cops, we're in trouble. Karl turned back to Andy. You still haven't said whether you're in or out. She gripped his shoulder. In, idiot. He took a deep breath. It wasn't all that bad, not here. If something had gone wrong on the other side, he would have ended up as the main feature at a Coliseum torture session. Here, the worst possibility was being arrested for kidnapping, assault, and first-degree murder. No, make that second degree. No way any prosecutor is ever going to prove my motive, show that I premeditated it. Karl exhaled, forcing himself to relax. Anybody got anything else to bring up? Then let's do it, people. He stood. Now. 10 minutes later, Arthur Simpson Dayton sat bound to a kitchen chair, glaring at Karl with his left eye. He couldn't quite glare with the right one. It was swollen shut. Karl finished the last knot on the ropes that bound the old man's left ankle to the chair, then stepped back to admire his handiwork. Dayton was secure. His wrists were tied tightly with two of his own neckties, and the gag was letting little else besides muffled groans through. He walked over to the sink where Andy stood, her right hand under the cold running water. Nice shot, he said. Thanks. She winced. I wish you could have taken him down a bit faster. I think I broke my thumb. You shouldn't make a fist with the thumb inside. Besides, that looks like a sprain to me. You want to go down to the infirmary, have it x-rayed? And miss all the fun? No thanks. And no thanks for the sympathy, either. He shrugged, then turned as the kitchen door swung open. No problem, just Walter. Everything okay in here? Karl nodded. Just fine. You two go out and sit in the living room with the rest. Doc and I have a couple things to talk over. He checked 3 of the kitchen drawers before he found the one with the knives. Selecting a long, thin skinning knife, he looked around for a whetstone. No luck. And that was too bad. Sharpening the knife in front of Dayton would have been good theater. Still, Dayton's unbruised eye widened as Karl, knife in hand, pulled up a chair, spun it around, and seated himself ass backward, his arms resting on the chair's back, the knife held lightly between thumb and forefinger. Dayton, Karl said, in his best Charles Bronson monotone. I'm going to make this short. And as frightening as possible. I don't want you thinking about anything except that you're terrified of me. You used us as a bunch of guinea pigs. Everything that happened on the other side was your fault. Agreed? And what does he know about what happened on the other side? He said in his letter that his visions were erratic, that the time differential makes it hard for him to follow what happens. Does he know that Jason is dead? Dayton shook his head violently. Karl smiled. Relax. You may just have a way out of it. As I was saying, when you shoot craps with people's lives, you're responsible for the result. It's a sound legal principle. Take my word for it. Say, if you torch a building for the insurance, and someone dies in the fire, you don't just spend a year or 2 in jail for the arson. It's murder 1. Karl raised a palm. I'll give you this. You tried to see that we were well enough equipped. You didn't know that Ricchetti was going to blast the treasure chest. He set the point of the knife under Dayton's chin, sliding the blade through the gray goatee until it touched flesh. But that doesn't make any difference, Professor. Agreed? I said agreed? He drew the knife back, just enough for Dayton to move his head. Slowly, Dayton nodded. And how many times a murderer does that make you, Art? Blink once for each. Dayton's left eye closed, then opened. He looked toward the door from the kitchen to the living room, then back at Karl. Good. He's not sure if I want him to count Doria, but he doesn't know about Jason. Karl forced himself not to breathe a sigh of relief. He doesn't know that Jason is dead. Now, Karl went on, it's your fault that James Michael is dead, and Doria's in bad shape. If killing you would bring them back, I'd do it here and now. He touched the blade to Dayton's neck, just over the jugular. A little push, and it would all be over. He dropped the point of the blade. But that wouldn't bring them back, would it? It's too bad that the only way I can see to fix things requires that you stay alive. Hope brightened Dayton's lined face. Karl went on. So, you're sending us back. Can you do that? I mean, because it worked once with us. Can you be sure that it'll work again? Dayton nodded. Good. Next question. and in case you haven't guessed, the answer had better be yes. Can you transfer us from here to that green spot in the waste of Elrude, the home tabernacle of the Society of the Healing Hand? Better not, Art. Otherwise... Karl touched the knife point to the center of Dayton's forehead. We go to Plan B. Dayton drew his head back. You don't want to know what Plan B is, do you? Dayton shook his head as though he was trying to shake his ears loose. Good, because I don't know what Plan B is either. That was the trouble with threatening Dayton. What if he called Karl's bluff? There was no way to get back to the other side that didn't require Dayton's cooperation, and Karl wasn't sure that he had either the stomach or the knowledge to cause Dayton enough pain to make him cooperate, without killing the bastard. So we keep him too scared to think of calling my bluff. One more thing. Only 6 of us are going back. Parker is staying behind. I've got him safely away from campus, holed up in a motel. If we don't get back in a reasonable time... He let his voice trail off. Dayton's imagination would work better than an explicit threat. Karl shrugged. Are we agreed? Good. I'm going to free your mouth now. He slipped the knife between Dayton's cheek and the cloth strips that held a balled-up dish towel in Dayton's mouth. Go ahead and yell. Once. Karl sliced the strips. Dayton spat out the dish towel. You misunderstood me. His voice quavered only a little. I didn't mean for any of this. Shut up. What equipment do you need? I haven't said that I'd do it. Karl shrugged. Got a pair of pliers around here? I bet you'll do it after I've pulled a few teeth. He started to rise. Wait. There's a wood box in the living room. Oak. Approximately 2 feet by 1, 6 inches deep. I'll need that, and I'll have to have my hands free. Karl reached out and patted the old man's cheek. No problem. But if you try and free your legs before we're gone, I'll break them. At the kneecaps. He couldn't resist adding, Sweetheart. You are lying in the short grasses of the well-kept lawn surrounding the tabernacle of the Society of the Healing Hand. A group of 6 adventurers seeking the revivification of one of your number, the healing of the soul of another, and fleeing the shame of a distant wizard who regrets with all his heart that you were hurt, that any of you were hurt. The tabernacle towers above you, several hundred yards to the west, blocking the setting sun. In the harsh glare, it is difficult to make out the details, but you see that it is of the same general shape as the Aztec pyramids, though easily twice their height. The wind is hot and dry, blowing across the waste of Elrude. It has lost almost all of its moisture. Chapter 17. Payment. I have always thought that all men should be free, but if any should be slaves, it should be first those who desire it for themselves, and secondly those who desire it for others. Whenever I hear anyone arguing for slavery, I feel a strong impulse to see it tried on him personally. Abraham Lincoln. A white-robed acolyte led them inside, with Karl in the lead, carrying the sewn leather bag containing a hero's remains. A distant uneasiness kept his right hand on the hilt of his new sword, a longish saber with a strange leather grip that sucked all the sweat away from his palm. Having the steel quickly available comforted him. Just as well he'd kept that skinning knife in hand while Dayton transferred them. It had translated well. Behind him walked Andy and Aristobulus, both clutching their leather-bound spellbooks as tightly as Karl held his sword hilt. One thing you can say for Dayton, he doesn't equip us poorly. The packs they had left outside lacked only magical implements. Dayton had claimed that he hadn't any left, other than the spellbooks, and Karl hadn't wanted to argue the point. But they did bear food, and additional weapons, and several pup tents, along with other necessities. Last in their ragged line was Walter Slavatsky, Doria's limp form held chest-high in his arms. Karl turned to see Walter nodding reassuringly to Doria, as though she could see him. Dark corridors led to a vast, high-ceilinged hall, where the sounds of their footsteps echoed off marble walls and the smooth gray floor. Lit dimly by 3 ornate candelabra that hung from the ceiling, it was empty, deserted save for a high-backed throne on a white stone pedestal, 3/4 of the way across the room. Beyond the throne, a narrow slit of a window gave them a view of the greenery on the east side of the tabernacle. In the morning, no doubt, it brought more light into the room, but not now at sunset. Karl lowered the bag to the floor. The acolyte nodded. The matriarch will see you here, she said, extending her arms for Doria, and I will see to my sister. Walter looked over to Karl. Well, his half-shrug said. We're on their turf, but... Really, the acolyte said, a half-sneer passing across her smooth face. Do you trust us so little? If so, then why are you here, Karl Cullinane? We haven't exchanged a single word, but she knows my name. I'm not going to ask her how. Undoubtedly, that's what she's expecting. We will heal her and take care of her. Doria is one of us now, not one of you, the acolyte said. I must warn you that you are now prejudicing your case. That sounded ominous. He quelled the warrior's natural response to a challenge. Go ahead, Walter, he said. If they're as powerful as we hope they are, we couldn't put up much of a fight anyway. The acolyte accepted Doria's slack body, not straining with the effort. Clearly, she was stronger than she looked. The matriarch will be with you shortly, she said, walking easily toward the hall's entrance. And then she was gone. Andy put a hand on his shoulder. Take it easy, Karl. They won't hurt her. Besides, she sighed, what could they do to hurt her the way she is? Walter chuckled grimly. And if the little bitch was lying, we can still try and take her apart later. Or frighten the hell out of her, like you did with Dayton. Nice bit of acting, that. Or would you have carved little pieces out of him until he gave in? Karl smiled. I'll never tell. And I'll never know. I know that I could have killed him without any regret. Torture or something else. Apology time, Ari. If I'd leaned on him a bit harder, we might have been able to get better out of him than a couple of spellbooks. Clutching the leather-bound volume tightly, Aristobulus's lined face broke into a smile. You haven't heard me complaining. For someone with no talent for leadership, you haven't done a bad job. Besides, I'm not the one who's wanted in Pandathaway. Now I can go back and qualify for the guild and... Not necessarily. A low, reedy voice said from behind Karl's back. Karl turned, his weight on the balls of his feet, forcing himself to move slowly. The throne wasn't empty anymore. An almost impossibly thin woman sat there, faintly glowing white robes gathered about her. The color of her garment was different from Doria's or the acolyte's. It covered her head as a sort of cowl, casting her face into shadow, her features, if any, hidden as well as if she were masked. Greetings. You may approach me. There was an eerie quality to her voice. It had the airiness of an old woman's, but no hint of fragility or weakness. And it was loud. If this was her normal speaking voice, her shout could well shatter stone walls. Karl bent to pick up the bag containing Ahira's body, then straightened. They all walked across the floor, Karl carrying the bag in cupped arms. We're here to... I know why you are here. They stopped in unison, 10 yards from her throne. Karl's forehead wrinkled. She hadn't given a command. She hadn't said anything or made the slightest gesture. Yet all 4 of them had stopped suddenly, as though responding to a compelling order. The issue at hand, the matriarch said, is whether or not we shall honor your wishes. Clearly, the society is in debt to you to some extent. You have done us a service by protecting one of our own and bringing her here. Then, Karl started. But that is not sufficient payment for what you ask. Reviving the dead is immensely difficult, immensely draining. We require further payment. Aristobulus took a half step forward, then stepped back. What sort of payment? I've still got some spells in my... That is insufficient. Your spells are trivial by my standards, wizard. Did you look about our preserve? Once, the entire waste was that lush, that fine. I protected this tabernacle against the magic of greater than you. Walter raised his hands. Look, lady, instead of telling us what isn't enough, why don't you just tell us what you want? You want gold? I'll go and steal you a few tons. You want diamonds? I'll... Be silent. The matriarch raised her hands to her face, the first motion they had seen her make. The one who spoke of you, Karl Cullinane, was correct. You are not terribly bright. But this one, this Walter Slavotsky, is worse. She lowered her hands.
Then again, that is hardly your fault. You are, after all, merely a human.
And what are you, old lady? Karl thought. God? Or is it just that you think you...
No, and yes. It is simply that...
Her voice trailed off into gibberish. She sighed.
But you do not understand the high tongue, and that is the only language in which I can clearly explain myself. My requirements are so necessary and so obvious, but this Erendra and this English of yours, the words do not cover the territory. So I shall speak as simply as I can, so that you each can understand what I require of you, if not why I require it. Aristobulus.
The wizard shook himself. The voice was somehow different now, less diffuse.
True. I speak only to you, wizard. Only one of the others can hear me, and will know if you decline to offer your portion of the payment.
Aristobulus nodded. Very well, he thought. You don't want what my spells can do for you. What do you want?
Your magic. All of it. Your Aristobulusness. Your portion of the payment is to be but Louis Richetti evermore, an ordinary human, unable to even read a word, to even see a word, in that book you clutch so tightly. Agree to that, and Ahira may live again. Decline, and he will surely stay dead.
How could she be so sure of that? Certainly the Healing Hand wasn't the only sect in the world. Possibly there was some other cleric, somewhere, who could raise the dead.
No, there is not, and soon there may be none at all who can.
His aura wrapped him tightly, seething. For James Michael, could he give that up?
Your reasons don't matter to me. It is the distance between us that makes our communication so difficult. Just as you could never teach your cat to fetch. You may give up your magic for whatever reason you wish, or not.
She sighed.
But I see that you will not. You do not see enough worth in your other life, in that engineering nonsense you used to almost worship.
Nonsense? Listen to me, you. There's more magic in a suspension bridge than in all these books, and...
Then you agree?
To hell with her. Engineering nonsense, indeed. Yes, he snarled. I'll give it up. And I'll build bridges here. I will. And horse collars and steam engines.
As you wish.
She gestured lightly with one hand, murmuring words that could only be heard and then forgotten. He changed. Aristobulus's slim form bulged out, the old dry skin of his body becoming once more firm with youth. It dizzied him. He stumbled. And Lou Richetti, clad in work shirt and blue jeans, picked himself up off the floor to glare at the matriarch. He crossed his arms defiantly over his chest, and to his own surprise found that he was grinning from ear to ear.
Andrea.
Yes? Why was she first? That didn't seem fair. After all,
one of the others has the same reaction. Curious.
Andrea tried to turn her head, to see which one of the others the matriarch was talking about, but she couldn't move.
I'm not even breathing.
She tried to force her lungs to draw in air, and couldn't. Panic burned at her throat.
Be still. Do you need to breathe?
Well, no, and that was strange. Why didn't she need to?
You stall, which is typical of you. You lack commitment, Andrea Andropoulos. You wait, and you see, and you never decide until you absolutely have to. Your payment is this. You must agree to decide about something important. Yes or no, in or out, together or apart. Fine, but what something important? I have to say yes without knowing? No, you never have to say yes, nor commit yourself without knowing. But an important promise will be made here, perhaps. Your payment is to agree to participate or to reject participation in that promise, without hesitation, without time for contemplation, without stalling. Will you make payment, or will Ahira remain dead?
She shrugged mentally, irritated at the way her shoulders refused to move.
I can't see that that's such a big sacrifice, and I can't see what you're getting out of it. True. Will you make payment? Yes, but...
The thought cut off as she heard the matriarch and Walter.
Walter Slovatsky.
I'm first. I knew I'd be first. The matriarch chuckled.
You are always first, are you not? The center of your pitiful little universe. Your portion of the payment will be that egotism, that idiotic notion that everything centers on you, that as long as all is right with you, all is right with the world, and that always all is right with you.
He wanted to reach up and scratch his head while he puzzled that out, but his arms hung limp by his sides. No, not limp. Unmoving, that was all.
Time works somewhat differently around me, when I so command it. Your mind is free, but the nerve impulses won't reach your arms until we have finished our conversation.
Well then, we can finish it quickly. I gave up on seeing myself as some sort of superhuman back in Lundale. I'll tell you, a knife in the shoulder can do wonders for your perspective. Is that what you wanted to hear?
No, that is what I wanted to know.
Karl's ears buzzed with the sounds of the matriarch carrying on 3 conversations at once, with Ricchetti renouncing his wizardry, Andy her indecisiveness, and Walter his self-centeredness. But it was as though Karl had 3 separate sets of ears, 3 separate minds. The words didn't jumble together. Each word, each thought, stood out from the others with crystal clarity.
Karl Cullinane,
the matriarch said.
It is your turn to offer payment, or not.
Payment? How was all this payment? What possible benefit could she get from this?
I just don't see what she's gaining from... True, you do not see, and, quite probably, you never will. Are you prepared to make payment, or will a hero remain dead?
Of course he was prepared to do something for her. But what did she want? Some of his possessions?
No.
The sacrifice of some of his abilities, like the way she had made
No.
A portion of his psyche, as with Walter?
No.
That left some sort of commitment, like the way she had made Andy agree to decide about something or other. Does that have something to do with this?
Correct. And what will you commit yourself to?
What do you want, lady? Why don't you just come out and ask?
Because I have limitations that you can never understand. I am far wiser, far more intelligent than you can ever hope to be. But the perspective limits me.
Wonderful. Power doesn't just corrupt, it limits too, huh?
You stall, dilettante. You delay. Answer my question.
There was something strange about this whole payment business, as though the other 3 had gained instead of lost.
True.
Lou Ricchetti had always been a sort of oddity, a misfit, no real self-respect back in the days when he used to trail around behind Jason Parker, like some sort of obedient spaniel. But that had changed when he was transferred over to this side, when he became a wizard. No, it hadn't. Aristobulus was just the other side of the same coin, seeing himself as worthwhile through his magic, only through his magic. And that was it. Lou Ricchetti hadn't seen himself as worthwhile until the moment that the matriarch had required he give up his wizardry, turned him back into a normal human being.
Again correct. Go on.
Now Walter was a different case. Slovatsky had always seen himself as worthwhile, perhaps too much so. Until Lundale, Walter hadn't understood his own mortality, his own limitations. And the matriarch wanted Walter to know that mortality, to see those limitations. But what did that imply? So what if Walter knew he could be hurt?
Perhaps he can now truly understand that others can hurt as well.
Karl nodded mentally. And then there was Andy, who forestalled committing herself. Which sounds a lot like me, actually. Psych major, soak major, bridge player, gamer, etc., and ad nauseum. If she's got a mild case of indecision, then I'm close to terminal.
Precisely.
Then what do you want me to decide to do? I can see that you want me to agree to do something. But what?
That which you have enjoyed most. That one thing which has made you feel most alive. To agree to do that for the rest of your life is your payment.
Karl let his string of former majors and hobbies run through his head. No, none of those. The matriarch had hardly gone through all of this to get him to agree to finish his acting degree. But she said I have to take up, what was it? That one thing which has made you feel most alive. And then it all clicked into place. Normality, commitment, lack of self-centeredness. The commitment to understanding that there were others out there, that they had feelings, and that those feelings counted. Jefferson's words swam in his brain. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. And in this world, they didn't hold that self-evident. Elagon was a person, if not a human, and he had been left chained to a rock in Pandathaway just for the convenience of the rulers of that city. And in the slave markets, whips cracked and flesh parted. Ullman and his slavers had chained and abused them because people were property here. And the last piece. The two things in my life that I enjoyed most were the time that I freed Elagon, and when I got us away from Ullman and killed those bastards. Matriarch, that's to be my payment. Free all the slaves? But how? Slice up all the slavers? Break all the chains? How? That is your problem. Do you commit yourself?
Of course.
Karl tried to spread his hands, and found to his surprise that he could.
But that isn't a sacrifice.
But it is payment, in the only coin I will accept. The others stirred around him. Andy glared up at the matriarch. And you can count me in on it, too. Is that a quick enough decision for you? Yes. The matriarch's voice held a hint of amusement. Lou Ricchetti, arms crossed over his chest, smiled. I'm in. Walter Slavatsky raised his hands and shrugged. You'll probably get us all killed trying, but... Karl threw an arm around the other's shoulder.
But he's in too. Now, about Ahira.
We have accepted payment. It will take slightly more than a year to effect his revivification.
Walter shook his head. We can't hang around here. There's a price on Karl's head, at least, and the Pandathaway Guilds Council has already managed to nail him with a location spell once.
That could not happen here. This preserve is defended. But, the matriarch sighed, I could hardly have the four of you within the tabernacle for that length of time, making noise and... Ah, of course. Length of time indeed. She gestured and spoke, the words vanishing as they left her mouth. Through the window beyond the throne, night fell, the darkness only momentary as the sun rose like a glowing balloon across the sky. And darkness again, and light, and darkness, and light and darkness, and light and dark and light and dark and light and dark as the days strobed past. And then it slowed, until a brilliant sun hung motionless, casting bright light into the hall with its empty throne. Karl brushed a year's accumulation of dust from his shoulders.
Is everyone all... I'm fine, in case anyone's interested.
Ahira's voice rasped behind him. Ahira? Karl turned. The dwarf glared up at him, hands on hips, head cocked to one side. Well, Ahira said, don't I get a hello? James! It was physically impossible for all four full-sized humans to hug the same dwarf at the same time, but they tried. And I have arranged some company for you. Karl turned to look at the empty throne. He had heard her voice, but the matriarch was nowhere to be seen. Nor will you see me again.
Now, wait, he started. What if we need some help? Won't you?
No, the voice answered, coming at him from every direction. Never will the hand aid you again. I'm sorry, Karl Cullinane, but we can't.
I don't understand. True. I told her you were a decent person, for a human, that is. But I never claimed you were intelligent.
As I said, I've arranged some company for you.
A huge triangular head peeked in through the door. Elagon. Yes, I'm Elagon, and you are Karl Cullinane.
A paw slapped against stone.
And this is a floor. Enough. I take it you're the company. Very clever. I am also transportation. We will camp on the edge of the forest tonight, just in case you're interested. I've spent a good part of the past year ferrying some of your possessions here. Things you left at the base of Bremen.
including one red mare that emptied her bowels all the way across the waist. I don't think she likes me, but she does look tasty.
We are not eating my horse. And are you certain you can carry all of us?
No. Actually, I just wanted to see how high I can get before we crash. Any other stupid questions?
Well, I wanted to ask the matriarch about...
She wouldn't answer. You are on your own.
Isn't that we?
No, not until you introduce me to the other three. I already know Walter Slavotsky.
And then?
Karl, it took me 3 centuries of being chained in a cesspool to learn what you found in months. You just may be able to do it.
You call that an answer? The dragon's head cocked to one side.
As a matter of fact, I do.
Chapter 18. Profession. Give me where to stand, and I shall move the world. Archimedes. Karl walked a few hundred yards from the fire before spreading his blankets on the damp grass. Slipping out of his leggings and tunic, he slid between the blankets and lay back, pillowing his head on his hands. High above, a coal-black sky winked its million eyes. How the hell are we going to do it? Where do we start? With Pandathaway's Slavers Guild, I suppose, but... He shrugged. Slavery had been alive on this world for millennia. He wasn't going to figure out how to end it tonight. But tomorrow was another day. And besides, I've been told that thinking isn't my strong suit. He chuckled, and then sighed deeply.
Well, you're correct for once.
Thanks. He sighed. Doria was gone now. He probably wouldn't see her again. Would she be happy with the society?
They take care of their own, Karl.
Probably. Do me a favor. Get out of my mind for a while. It's been kind of a tough day.
Year,
then. I could use some rest.
I was just going to ask if you minded if I hunted up some food.
Not my department. Take it up with Ahira. Where are you, anyway?
Down by the stream. I thought I might snatch up a few fish while I'm on watch. I can see Walter and Ahira and Racchetti from here, sitting around the fire, arguing. And Andrea's worried.
Arguing and worrying? About what?
Racchetti's talking about going back to the other side for a book of tables of all things. Why he's so interested in furniture, I don't know.
Engineering tables, Elegon. Different sort of thing. Although Karl had had quite enough of Racchetti's arguing about books. First the spell books, and now this. What's Andy worried about?
Parents, relatives, friends. How they'll miss her, not know what happened to her.
Reminder about the time differential on this side. It's a problem for all of us, but we've got a few years to figure out what to do about it. It'll be at least a day or so on the other side before we're seriously missed. And that'll stack up to... He trailed off, too lazy and too tired to worry over the calculation. Save it for the morning. Save it all for the morning.
But I was wondering about the food. I'll keep alert, I promise. Young dragons don't sleep much at all, you know.
Young dragons also don't stop bugging the hell out of me.
True.
Elegon went silent. Karl let his eyelids sag shut, his muscles unkink. Loosen the neck, slow the heart, rest the mind. Silently, she slid into his arms. He sat up with a jerk, bowling her over. What the hell? Andy propped her chin on one hand. If you're going to bounce me around the meadow, I'll go elsewhere. A loose strand of hair fell across her nose. She blew it off and moved closer to him, brushing the blankets aside. No, there weren't any bikini marks. Amazing. After a while, she pushed him away, but gently, and only a few inches. Looks like you finally found yourself a profession.
This?
Hero. Don't talk dirty. Whether he reached for her or she for him, he was never quite sure, but he couldn't have cared less. And that brings us to the end of Chapter 18, and the end of the book. I hope you've enjoyed listening to The Sleeping Dragon as much as I've enjoyed narrating it. It has always been one of my most favorite fantasy stories, dark as it may be at times, and I am glad I'm able to share it with you. From here, we will go straight into The Sword and the Chain, Book 2 of the trilogy. That will be what I release next week. Thank you once again for listening, and good night.